Chosen one, have you ever stopped to wonder why your attitude, your very way of being, could leave even God speechless? Even stun an archangel like Michael? That sounds almost blasphemous, doesn't it? But what if the problem isn't with you or them, but with the way we've been taught to think about the universe and ourselves from the very start? What if everything we believed about how attitude, spirit, and destiny work is just incomplete, even misleading? Here's the unsettling truth you've likely never been told. Your attitude isn't just a personality trait, or a mood to manage, or something superficial. It's a fundamental force, one that interacts with reality in ways textbooks have failed to explain. Worse, it's a force that challenges the very structure of what we think God's will or divine order means. You see, the moment you realize this, everything changes. Pause for a second and think. Why is it so hard to believe that your internal state, your attitude, can actually affect the cosmic balance? If you had to guess, what do most people say about attitude? That it's just mindset, just feelings, just self-help fluff? Sure, but why then would a force as vast as the universe and powerful as God be stunned by it? This is where it gets strange. Imagine the universe as a massive, finely tuned machine. Each part moves according to strict rules. Most people think this machine runs on hard, cold laws, gravity, energy, cause and effect. But what if the machine isn't just physical? What if it's also emotional, spiritual, attitudinal? What if your attitude sends out waves that ripple through reality's fabric in ways science hasn't mapped yet? Let me give you a simple analogy. Think about how sound travels through the air. You don't see the waves, but when you speak, your voice moves invisible vibrations that can change the world around you. People listen, react, sometimes even change their minds or actions. Now imagine if your attitude works the same way, but not just on people nearby. Imagine it sends ripples into the very architecture of existence. Does that sound far-fetched? It should, because that's exactly what most of us have been taught not to believe. Yet here's the kicker. Recent discoveries in quantum physics and consciousness studies hint that observation, intention, and yes, attitude do shape reality on a fundamental level. The famous double-slit experiment, for example, shows us that reality isn't just out there waiting to be observed, it changes based on how it's observed. This is where the part most people never realize comes in. Your attitude isn't just passive, it's active. It participates in reality's unfolding story. That's why your attitude can silence God and stun Michael, because it is a force of creation, not just reaction, and it can be more powerful than you imagine. But hold on, don't take this at face value. There's a deeper mystery beneath this. Why would God, who presumably created everything, be silent or stunned by you? Wouldn't God be all-knowing and immune to surprise? Here's where it gets counterintuitive and interesting. What if God's creation includes freedom? What if God's omniscience isn't about predetermining every outcome, but about allowing genuine surprise, allowing free will and attitudes like yours to affect the divine equation? This is the part that challenges the traditional narrative. It's not that God is limited, but that God chooses to be surprised, that your attitude is a wild card, a variable that even divine order cannot fully predict or control. Think about a parent watching a child grow. The child's choices can astonish and sometimes silence the parent with their unexpected bravery, wisdom, or stubbornness. The parent loves the child but is not in control of every thought or attitude the child holds. This analogy helps you grasp how your attitude, in its raw, authentic form, might genuinely leave even God speechless. Now, what does this mean for you, for your everyday life? How do you tap into this incredible force? We'll come back to that question in a moment, because to answer it fully, we first need to explore what attitude really is and what it isn't. Most people think of attitude as something superficial, a mood you put on or take off like a coat. But attitude is more like a lens through which you view everything, the fundamental orientation of your consciousness towards life. Imagine wearing glasses with different lenses. Some make the world look bright, others dark. But unlike glasses, your attitude also colors the world itself. It shapes what happens, not just how you see it. Let's try a thought experiment. Picture two people standing in the same room with the same problems, the same challenges. One feels defeated, the other energized. Which of these two people will create more change? Intuitively, you know it's the second. But why? Because the energized attitude sets off a chain reaction within themselves and outside that changes outcomes. That's the power of attitude. Now here's the twist. Your attitude doesn't just affect your personal experience, it reverberates through what some call the collective consciousness, the shared mind of humanity, and beyond that, the universe itself. And this is where the cosmic shock happens. When your attitude shifts, it can alter the flow of energies, events, and even the rules that seem fixed. This might sound like fantasy, but it's becoming clearer in fields like epigenetics, quantum biology, and consciousness research. You might ask, isn't this just wishful thinking? How can my attitude really change reality? That's a fair question, and the honest answer is, science doesn't fully know yet. We are in the middle of discovering how mind and matter interconnect. The old materialistic worldview, where only physical things matter and thoughts are just byproducts, is giving way to a new understanding that thoughts, intentions, and attitudes are active participants in the universe's unfolding drama. Think of it this way. A rock thrown into a pond creates ripples that spread wide. Your attitude is like that rock, but instead of water, the pond is reality itself. And sometimes those ripples grow bigger than you can imagine. This is why Michael, the Archangel, is stunned, not because he is weak, but because the scale of your impact is beyond usual expectations. At this point, you might be wondering if this all sounds a bit too grandiose. Am I saying you are God? Not quite. But what I am saying is that your attitude has a unique power, one that can defy conventional logic, break patterns, and even silence the heavens. So where do we go from here? How do we begin to harness this staggering force in a way that transforms your life and honors your role as a chosen one? This question leads us deeper into the heart of what attitude means, not just as an inner feeling, but as an active, creative power. And that, dear listener, is where this part of the journey takes us. Now that we've glimpsed how your attitude can shake the very foundations of existence, it's time to dive deeper into what this attitude actually is, beneath all the words and ideas. Most explanations miss this, but understanding it will change everything you thought you knew about yourself and your place in the cosmos. Think about a flame. At first glance, it's just fire, right? But look closer. Fire is a process, an event. It's not a static thing, but a dynamic dance between fuel, oxygen, and heat. Attitude is very much like that flame. It's not a fixed trait or label. It's an ongoing process, a dance between your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and the energy you put out. Here's where it gets strange. Your attitude isn't entirely under your conscious control. You might think you can just choose to be positive or strong, but the truth is more subtle. Your attitude is a living ecosystem of influences, many below your awareness. It grows from past experiences, subconscious patterns, and even the unseen connections you have to the world and people around you. This is where the part most people never realize sneaks in. Your attitude is both deeply personal and profoundly collective. It's shaped by your history and your heritage, but it's also linked to the larger energetic currents flowing through humanity. So when your attitude shifts, it's like a ripple that spreads far beyond your individual life. It can change the current itself. That's why your attitude can silence even Michael, because it's not just about you, it's about your connection to the greater whole. Now, let me challenge your intuition again. What if I told you that sometimes the most powerful attitude isn't one of strength or positivity, but one of vulnerability? That's right, vulnerability, often seen as weakness, is actually a gateway to immense power. Why? Because vulnerability is honesty. It's the courage to be real, to face uncertainty without pretenses. When you are vulnerable, you open a channel for transformation. That openness can disrupt patterns and open new possibilities. And this honesty reverberates through the spiritual realms, shaking even the most rigid divine expectations. Think of it like a musical note. A pure note can resonate powerfully and shift the mood of an entire room. Vulnerability is that note. It pierces through falsehood and stiffness and touches something deeper. Now, you might be thinking, this is counterintuitive. I was told to be strong, confident, never show weakness. Exactly. That's the old paradigm. And that's why so many people feel stuck, as if their attitude isn't enough, because they haven't been taught the full truth. Here's another curiosity hook. What if your attitude is not just a reaction to life's events, but actually shapes what events come to you? That sounds like fate, or magic, or some kind of spiritual law, but it's closer to reality than you think. Consider how people describe luck. Some seem lucky all the time, others never. What if luck isn't random? What if luck is attitude in action? That your internal state acts like a magnet, attracting certain experiences and repelling others. We'll come back to this magnet idea soon. Let's do a quick thought experiment. Imagine you walk into a room full of strangers. Your attitude is tired and defeated.
This might sound like science fiction or mysticism, but clues come from the cutting edges of physics and consciousness research. Experiments with retrocausality hint that effects can precede causes, that the future may influence the past. If so, then your attitude, your internal energetic state, could be reaching out, touching the future you want to create and pulling it closer. Pause and consider this. When you imagine a goal or dream with a strong, clear attitude, you're not just visualizing a possibility, you're energetically signaling that reality into existence. This is why people who embody their vision with unwavering attitude often seem to attract opportunities and synchronicities that others don't. Now, what about identity? Who are you in this grand dance of time and attitude? Are you a fixed self, trapped in history and biology? Or are you a fluid, evolving consciousness, capable of rewiring and rewriting your story with each moment? Here's the curiosity hook. The you that feels solid and constant is actually a dynamic process, a stream of attitudes, thoughts, feelings, and intentions flowing and changing every instant. Your identity is more like a melody than a single note. And here's the paradox. To change your attitude deeply, you must embrace this fluidity, letting go of rigid self-concepts and opening to the mystery of becoming. This is where many stumble. They cling to old stories of who they are, fearing that change means loss. But true transformation is paradoxical. It is both loss and gain, death and rebirth, silence and speech. And now, the real challenge. How do you hold this understanding without losing your footing? How do you navigate a reality where your attitude shapes time, self, and destiny without getting lost in overwhelm or illusion? The answer lies in grounding, anchoring your expansive awareness in simple, present-moment experience. It's like holding a handful of water. Too tight and it slips away, too loose and it spills. Grounding allows you to move freely between dimensions of self and reality, wielding your attitude as a precise tool rather than a wild force. Let me offer a simple practice. Notice your breath. Notice the sensations in your body. These are your anchors, your connection to the now amid the flowing river of time and attitude. From this grounded place, you can begin to experiment, shifting your attitude gently, observing how your experience changes, tuning your internal radio with curiosity and playfulness. And here's the profound insight. The universe doesn't demand perfection or constant mastery. It celebrates authenticity, courage, and the willingness to dance with mystery. Your attitude, then, is your sacred dance, a language that speaks to God, to Michael, to the unseen realms. It is your unique signature on the cosmos. So what will your next move be? How will you compose the next note in this infinite symphony? Now that we've touched on the astonishing idea that your attitude weaves through time, influencing both past and future, let's explore how this cosmic dance plays out in the everyday world, the tangible, often messy realm of your daily life. Because understanding theory is one thing, living it is another. Think about how your attitude influences your actions. Actions are the visible ripples your internal state sends out into the world. But here's a twist that often goes unnoticed. It's not just your actions that matter, it's the energy behind them. Imagine two people performing the same task, say writing a letter. One does it with resentment and distraction, the other with calm focus and intention. Which letter feels more alive? Which one carries more weight, more meaning? The difference isn't just in the words, it's in the attitude infused into the act. Your attitude colors everything you do, giving life to your deeds or draining them of power. This is where the part most people miss comes in. The unseen energy behind your actions often has a greater impact than the actions themselves. Now, let's stretch this idea further. What if your attitude behind a seemingly small action could ripple outward and affect the larger systems you're part of, your family, your community, even global consciousness? This might sound grandiose, but there's evidence suggesting human consciousness is interconnected in ways we don't fully grasp. Consider the placebo effect, where belief and expectation trigger real physiological changes. Or think about mass movements where collective attitude shifts societal outcomes. Your individual attitude contributes to these larger patterns. And here's the fascinating part. When your attitude aligns with your authentic self and highest purpose, it generates a kind of energetic resonance, a vibration that attracts synchronicities, support, and opportunities. This is why people often say, when you change your attitude, everything changes. But what if your attitude is misaligned? What happens then? The answer is subtle but critical. Misalignment creates friction, internal conflict, blocked energy, and repeated patterns of struggle. It's like trying to play a beautiful song on an out-of-tune instrument. No matter how hard you try, the music won't flow. So how do you cultivate alignment? This question leads us back to the concept of self-awareness, but on a deeper level. Alignment requires not just noticing your attitudes, but understanding their origins, where they come from, what stories they carry, and how they serve or sabotage you. Imagine peeling back layers of an onion. Each layer represents beliefs and patterns that formed your attitude over time. Some protect you, others trap you. The work is to peel gently, with compassion, revealing your core essence beneath. And here's the critical insight. At your core, beneath all the layers, there is an attitude of pure presence, a state of being curious, open, and loving. This is the attitude that can truly leave God speechless, because it is unconditioned by fear or limitation. But reaching that core isn't a one-time event. It's a lifelong journey of peeling, healing, and growing. Now, let's bring this back to your role as the chosen one. Your attitude isn't just a personal tool for happiness or success. It's a spiritual responsibility, a force that influences not only your life, but the collective evolution of consciousness. This may feel heavy, but it's also liberating. You are empowered to shape not only your life, but contribute to a larger awakening. And here's where the final paradox reveals itself. The more you embrace your unique attitude, with all its contradictions and complexities, the more you become a beacon for transformation, both for yourself and for the world. Before we move on, take a moment to reflect. What attitudes are you carrying that serve the greater good? Which ones are holding you back? And how might releasing old patterns open space for a new and more powerful way of being? By now, you might be sensing that your attitude isn't just a simple feeling or fleeting thought, but a profound force that can ripple through your life and beyond. But there's an even deeper layer that most teachings skip over: the relationship between your attitude and your sense of meaning and purpose. Because without meaning, attitude is just noise. Let's pause and ask, what gives your attitude its direction? What fuels it beyond mere survival or desire? This is where your personal story, your values, and your sense of calling come into play. Your attitude becomes a compass, guiding you through uncertainty and change. But here's the catch. Meaning is not something you find passively. It's something you create actively. And your attitude is the artist's brush with which you paint your reality. This is where it gets strange. Sometimes the darkest moments, the most painful experiences, become the fertile soil from which the strongest attitudes grow. Think about the times in your life when you faced seemingly insurmountable challenges. What attitude did you bring to those moments? Did you surrender, resist, or transform? The attitude you chose was the pivot point that shaped not only the outcome, but your entire trajectory afterward. And here's the part most people never realize. Meaning and attitude feed each other. When your attitude aligns with a deep sense of purpose, it creates a feedback loop of energy and resilience. This loop fuels persistence, creativity, and the ability to navigate the unknown. Let me offer a thought experiment. Imagine your attitude as a seed and meaning as the sunlight and water that nourish it. Without meaning, your attitude may wither or become shallow. But with meaning, even the smallest attitude can grow into a mighty tree with roots deep enough to weather any storm. Now, you may wonder how to discover or deepen your sense of meaning. It often starts with asking powerful questions, not for quick answers, but for exploration. Who are you beyond your roles and labels? What legacy do you wish to leave? What gifts do you bring to the world? These questions aren't always comfortable. They challenge your assumptions and can shape your foundation, but they are necessary for attitude to evolve beyond habit or reaction into conscious creation. And here's the twist. Your attitude infused with meaning has the power to inspire and uplift others. It becomes a beacon that draws people towards transformation, connection, and hope. This is why your attitude can leave God speechless and stun Michael, because it holds a spark of divine creativity, a unique expression of the infinite made manifest through you. But remember, this spark isn't a destination, it's a journey. It requires humility to acknowledge what you don't know, courage to face your shadows, and openness to the mysteries ahead. So what would happen if you began each day by connecting with the meaning behind your attitude? How might that change the way you move through the world? What doors would open if your attitude carried the weight and lightness of purpose? Before we move on, hold this reflection close. Your attitude is not just about feeling good or achieving goals. It is the vehicle through which your soul dances with the universe, imperfect, evolving, and endlessly creative. As we journey deeper into understanding the immense power of your attitude, it's vital to recognize a truth that often unsettles